Hey, English 111, Miss Brewer here. We are in week 10, so we're getting close. Midterms were last week. I entered your midterm grades last week. Had to enter them without the literary analysis final drafts that you guys turned in. Just did not have the time to get through everything, but they will be in this week. I have a schedule and no play rehearsal or anything like that. Hopefully no sick children, so we can get those taken care of this week. And I will send out a class announcement once those grades are in, so you can look at those. This week, you guys are continuing your research. So last week I talked about how to use the LRC, how to make sure you're finding your scholarly articles for your annotated bibliography. We talked a little bit about what the annotated bibliography is and what it does. So you are continuing your research this week, and your annotated bibliography is due at the end of the week. So remember that your annotated bibliography should be in MLA format. Remember that you should have, it's essentially your works cited page, so it's in alphabetical order. Your citations still are hanging indentations, everything from the works cited page, but underneath each entry, you have an annotation, which means you have to have read the article. And your annotation does three things. It summarizes the article, it evaluates whether or not it's credible, okay, so by stating simply that it provides research, that it provides statistics or whatever it does, so that you know that it's a credible article, all right, it's published by a particular journal, all right, whatever, that tells you this is a credible article. And then it identifies how it will be used for an essay without saying, I will use this in my paper, because we're still writing academically and formally, so no personal pronouns. So please see the student example that I provided, because that shows you exactly what your annotations should look like, with the exception of the quotes. So for that annotated bibliography, I required my students to include quotes from the source. You are welcome to do that, but you are not required to do so. So just be aware that that tells you how the format works. It shows you how to say that the source is credible, and it shows you how to say how it will be used in a paper without using personal pronouns. So definitely refer to that student example. What else do you have this week? So this week you have a subject-verb agreement lesson. And it goes through how to make your subjects and your verbs agree, okay? Pay particular attention to those rules, because there are some specific rules about subject and verb agreement, all right? Remember that if your subject is plural, then your verb needs to be plural. And if your subject is singular, then your verb needs to be singular. But as is always the case with the English language, there are more rules than just that. So make sure you go through that PowerPoint, make sure you take notes. And then I also provide you guys a self-taught lesson, which is great for subject-verb agreement. So I highly suggest that you utilize that. So you're going to turn in your annotated bibliography Sunday night. Make sure that it's done properly. Feel free to use NetTutor if you want to get feedback on it, okay? Always a good thing to get some feedback on writing on big assignments. This annotated bibliography is essentially the same thing as like your thesis and outline for your last paper. So it's a 50-point assignment for your argument essay category. So make sure that you're doing that in depth and doing it well. And then your journal. So after you've finished your research, you should be able to formulate a thesis, okay, for your argument. Remember that we are doing formal academic writing. Remember that you've already written a thesis before. You've already done a thesis exercise, so you should be able to formulate a thesis at this point in time. I did put a video up for you to review for thesis writing, and your journal is to submit a thesis statement. It's like 2 sentences, so there's no word count, okay? But you need to submit that thesis, okay? So Your thesis should indicate what the paper is going to argue without saying this paper is going to argue, all right? So just make your statement. So if I'm going to argue that the United States should offer universal health care, okay, then I'm going to give some background information that does not need to be cited in my first sentence. So my first sentence will say something to the effect of, proposals for Medicare for all or universal health care have been introduced into legislation in the United States. However, it has not come to fruition as of yet. That's my first sentence, okay? Don't need to cite that. We all know it. Then what am I going to say? Okay, so if I'm going to say that we should have it, then my second sentence is going to say universal health care would be beneficial to the majority of United States citizens for whatever reasons I have from my research. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully. And it's like a 2-sentence thing. Don't write a whole paragraph. Don't write 5 words. It's two lengthy sentences, okay, for your thesis statement. And that is your journal entry. And I will be giving you guys feedback on that. So next week, when I come in Monday and Tuesday, I'll grade those and I'll give you feedback on your thesis. So please go back to that and read the feedback that I provide. So that's what you're working on this week. You have 2 things due: annotated bibliography and your journal. Make sure that you've gone through all of the lessons on the annotated bibliography from last week. And make sure that it is properly formatted when you turn it in, because it's a nice grade for you. And it's the first grade, I think, in your argument section for the grade book. So it's important. If you have any questions, be sure to just email me or you can call, but I will respond to emails probably a little bit faster. But if you need to talk to me, by all means, please call me so I can explain things, and I'll pull the class up and walk you through what you need. All right. Good luck with your research. Make sure you're reading those articles. You do not need to include pro-con. This is important. This is for all of you that go to the end of the videos. You do not need to include pro-con in your argument annotated bibliography. So the argument annotated bibliography is just your scholarly articles. All right, there's a helpful hint. All right, have a great week.